Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Command Center, and we have a hard-hitting show on tap for you. With all the additions to the offense, we try to tackle how offensive coordinator Scott Turner will spread the wealth. And this year's rookie class takes the field for the first time. We will recap this weekend's rookie minicamp and talk with legend Doug Williams. And we pair one of Washington's legends with this year's first-round pick, Santana Moss, goes one-on-one with Jahan Dotson. Plus, head coach Ron Rivera takes us inside the film room to break down Dotson's dynamic play. Command Center kicks off now. Julie Donaldson here with Logan Paulson. It's a new look.
Yeah, how great is this?
New
Look
day.
at this thing. Yeah, it's amazing.
It looks great.
Yeah.
We're excited to bring you some new looks to go along with our new name, the Commanders. So, let's get straight to it. There's also a lot of new players coming in the offseason. They made a few additions to the offensive side of the ball, acquiring quarterback Carson Wentz from the Colts, drafting Jahan Dotson, Brian Robertson Jr., and Cole Turner. And, adding that to the core of Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson, and a healthy Curtis Samuel. That means there's a lot of weapons going around, Logan.
Yes. A lot of weapons, a lot of things to do with the football here, which is a good spot to be in for an offense.
Yeah, but the challenge is there's only one ball. So that's exactly what I posed to offensive coordinator Scott Turner. He's going to have his hands full trying to make that happen. Only one ball to go around.
Absolutely.
It's yours to decide how you draw up those plays.
Not always just me. The defense dictates a little bit of that too. But it's good to have a lot of good weapons out there where you don't care where it ends up.
It's a good problem to have when you have a lot of options on offense, but just one ball to kind of try and figure that out. But can you go into a game, or should you say, you know what, Terry McLaurin is our guy. We want to give him 10, 15 touches a game, or targets at least. And the same thing maybe for Antonio Gibson. This many touches to get in rhythm to be able to have a certain amount of success. How do you approach that?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think the idea that you should be giving a guy a certain amount of touches is a little bit old school in terms of philosophy. I think what Scott said there in the interview is right on point. I think you want to take what the defense gives you, to put it as simply as possible. And what you get when you have all these playmakers is you don't feel reluctant to kind of go to your second option. You have Terry maybe as the primary, they take it away, the coverage dictates the ball should be going someplace else, and you feel comfortable with guys like Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson, De'Ami Brown, all those guys being a part and can contribute, but it's not forcing the ball. You're not kind of stagnating the offense by forcing the ball to one specific player.
You just mentioned a lot of other wide receivers, of which I think we've kind of really learned as well. To be successful, you don't need just two dynamic wideouts. You really need three.
Yeah.
Well, we have four because he said, don't forget about De'Ami Brown.
Yeah.
He's shown flashes, and they really want to work him further into the mix as well. Do you like the options of being able to a four wideout set?
Yeah, I think that's a big part. NFL offenses now, like getting more speed on the field because it dictates a certain response by the defense. It dictates more coverage players on the field, and I think it allows you to kind of simplify coverages. They can't get to all their same defensive packages because you have new personnel on the field. That's an advantage for the offense. Why not exploit that? I also think using those four wide receiver sets to run the football a little bit is really, really forward thinking, and it'll be interesting to see if Scott does that. But it's nice to have guys you feel that can win in one-on-one situations that have speed and big playability.
You mentioned the run game. They bring in Robinson as well. And he's kind of like that 1-2 punch, kind of like really in between the tackles. But you have AG you can maybe use out in space as well. And you can't forget about J.D. McKissick.
Right.
How does that factor in if you have so many wideouts as well?
I almost think that this is a more difficult situation in terms of how you allocate running back touches, right? Because you've got McKissick, who's got a very specific skill set in terms of catching the football at the backfield. And then I think Gibson and Robinson are very, very similar, or more similar than people want to give them credit for. And I think that's important to note. And I think it's just about managing AG's health and kind of finding the best ways to use both players. You mentioned getting AG out in space a little bit more. I think that's going to be a big point of emphasis, or I would make that a big point of emphasis this offseason.
We'll see. Again, it's what Scott Turner says. He's got to be able to figure that out, or, again, the game will dictate where we go. But it's definitely a good problem to have. Well, we had our first look at the rookies as they took the field for the first time as member of the Commanders over the weekend. First round pick Jahan Dotson put his speed and hands on display, getting in some early reps in front of local media. Now they will be joined by veterans when voluntary off-season training activities begin on May 23rd. Our staff writer Zach Selby was there to find out how the first practices went.
Jahan, so going through rookie minicamp, how's it been like for you, man?
Yeah, it's been exciting. Just learning the playbook, just getting my feet wet out here. I've kind of been like in track mode, combine mode for a little bit, so it was good getting back in football shape and really getting to running and getting with the guys.
Talk about the playbook, man. What's it been like kind of opening that up and kind of trying to digest that?
Yeah, it's kind of been like school. You going home basically after your class and just studying the playbook, studying your information and trying to retain it for when you get out here on the field. On the field is kind of like your test is, so it's pretty cool.
Second day of rookie minicamp. What was that like for you so far?
It was fun. It's everything I expected. Just taking the baby steps right now and just working on my technique, working on footwork. All those things that start with football. So we just hit the basics right now, and I'm pretty sure as we go on, everything gonna keep going up and up.
The biggest adjustment, really, I just got to learn a new playbook after studying one playbook for 5 years, but it's not rocket science, it's pretty much all the stuff I've been doing, just different terminology and stuff like that. But the biggest adjustment I got to make really is just learning this playbook and learning it, good, where I can go out and play fast and know my assignment every time.
New show, so you have to bring in the big dogs for this one. Who better in the building to bring in for an interview than Mr. Doug Williams? Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me, Jude. I appreciate that.
It's not just here that we want to say we want you around, but it's also when they went to go pick up our first round draft pick, Jahan Dotson. They're like, who better to go and meet this young man to show him what life is going to be like in the NFL, and especially at this franchise, because it is such a storied franchise. So you got the first impressions of him on that flight over from Pennsylvania. We got to see him on the field also this weekend. What is your assessment of him?
You know what? The ride over, I watched him. We talked to him and his family. And the more I looked at him, the more I listened to him, Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
I mean, they got the same type of MO. Don't talk a lot, listen well. And when he does speak, he has something to say. And just riding over with him from Pennsylvania, man, it was a great ride because I saw a great young man that's going to add so much value to this organization. And not only by his character, but his ability to play this game, I think is going to help us a lot.
It's important to have that character, and I think we've seen this team really make a conscious effort to go out there and just get good guys that want to go to work and that don't have a lot of that like overwhelming selfish mentality. And he loves fighting for those 50-50 balls. He's like, he takes pride in being able to do that, which Terry does as well. Carson Wentz changes the game a little bit. They wanted a veteran quarterback, but they said that changed the approach, that this is their year to make that offense sing. What are the expectations for you this year with this offense?
I do believe by going out and getting Carson, this offense to me is one of those situations that this is time for it to explode. For what it's done over the last couple of years or so with, not taking anything away from Taylor. He gave us everything he had, and he's a great guy to have around, and you can't ask for a better guy to be the backup. But what Carson can do, I mean, he can get the ball down the field. He's big enough, he's strong enough, he can get away. He can make plays on the run. I've seen him when he first came in this league. I thought he was going to be, lights out. And he still can do that. And that's the most important thing, because we got a guy who's still young. And this is an opportunity to show the world that, hey, I'm Carson Wentz, I can play. And I think with his ability and the guys that we got going to have be outside, and then the guys inside, the running back, Gibson, and what's my guy name?
Robinson, that just came in.
Robinson, who just come in.
J.D. McKissick as well.
McKissick is the key, though.
Healthy.
Because from a receiving standpoint, I mean, when he catches the ball, he can do some things that a lot of people can't do. But Gibson also can catch the ball, but his running style has turned out to be a blessing for us.
We've been building a lot around defense this year, building a lot around offense, but as you know, there's only one ball to pass around. So we'll see. That is for offensive coordinator Scott Turner. Even he told me sometimes he draws it up to go to a certain guy, and then the play just totally changes, but as long as they get moving the chains, that's the overall point. Doug, thank you.
No, thanks for having me.
Still to come, we're bringing in the old school to help with this year's rookie class. First up, Santana Moss sits down with Jahan Dotson. Plus, we find out how his game will transition to the next level as head coach Ron Rivera joins us in the film room to break down Dotson's play.
I was actually ready to skip the graduation and be out here at practice, but he said that's like a once in a million type of thing. He was all for me going, so I honestly hadn't even thought about skipping practice until he kind of brought that up.
It can't get any better than being drafted and then just within 2 weeks later getting your degree, majoring in telecommunications from Penn State. So nice that head coach Ron Rivera said, no, Dotson, this is important. You need that day, but now it's time to get to work. So what can we expect from Dotson on the field? Well, we had legendary Santana Moss sit down and chat with him.
Hey, this your boy Santana Moss. I'm here today with the Washington Commanders' first-round draft pick, Jahan Dotson. Welcome, my brother.
Thank you.
How you
Appreciate
doing?
it. I'm good. How you doing?
How you doing? I mean, I'm great, man. How you feeling right now?
Yeah, I'm good. First day in the building. Just excited for the opportunity. Honestly, been itching to get here. I can't wait to see what's in store.
Now that the process. I mean, you know, when I say the process, I've been in them shoes before. I understand how we are as collegiate athletes. I mean, my goal was out the gate as a 5-6-year-old. When I was asked, what do I want to do, or what I was going to be when I grew up, I said a football player.
Right.
I'm not sure if that was your number one goal, but now that it's over and you're here, what feeling do you have?
Yeah, kind of just achievement, just excitement. Like you said, from an early age, you knew that this is what you wanted to do, and I feel like it's the same exact way for me. I've always, like my parents always told me when I was a young kid, I never really played with toys. I grew up playing with football, basketball. So I always kind of knew I wanted to do something like this. And football, I took it serious from a young age, and it's finally paying off.
So was football number one sport for you? Because I know I ran track. I dilly-dally with basketball, but I knew football was number one. Track got me into college, but you know, how was it like for you growing up?
Yeah, football was always my number one. I didn't start running track till high school, start playing basketball till middle school, but I've been playing football since I could walk. So I always knew that this was what I wanted to do.
So tell me, you was born in New Jersey, am I right?
Yep.
Did you grow up in Jersey, or did you grow up in Philly or Pennsylvania?
Yeah, so I grew up in Jersey for about 7 to 8 years, and then basically just moved to PA. My dad putting us in a better opportunity for me and my family. And just getting away from just a toxic city for real. So it was good, the opportunity to come to Pennsylvania, and really it was a big culture shock for me, but just adapting to it, it was good for me.
So how was it? I mean, like take me through your childhood. I remember being a kid, man, and I remember, you know, I stayed in Miami all my life, but I stayed in 2 different sides of Miami. And if you ever, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but you know, folks always talk about South Beach when they hear Miami. I was born and raised in Liberty City, and Liberty City is a world-renowned, it's known. Everyone knows what Liberty City is about. And then I turned 12, I think, and I moved to Carroll City, which was like rival cities.
Right.
I remember those days. I remember them vividly. Do you have that memory of you leaving from one spot to the other?
Yeah, for sure. When I first left New Jersey, I cried the whole way there. I didn't want to leave Jersey just because that's where all my family grew up. My grandmother, grandfather, cousins, aunts, uncles, like everyone was back in Jersey. So my dad moving us, we were the first ones to really move away from the connected family. And I cried the whole car ride, whole hour 15 car ride. So it was tough for me, just going through that process, just because I was a very young age. And I kind of only knew one place, but it was good for me.
But it was a better life, though.
Right,
better life,
better lifestyle, just better opportunities.
Around what age did you start playing, you know, football, or rather organized football?
Yeah, so I started playing around 4. I started playing flag football around 4 years old, and I pretty much been playing ever since.
Gotcha. So high school. And I know we all go through it, you know. Whether you start at 9th grade or you start at 10th grade. I started 10th grade, and I started straight out the gate to varsity. How was your journey in high school, knowing that my goal is to get to college, doing what I love to do? What was it like for you?
My early years of high school were tough. I went to a very small high school, and I was always like kind of the best player on my team. So my 9th grade year, they moved me right up to varsity, and just basically threw me in with the big dogs. And I was about 135 pounds.
Soaking wet, huh?
Soaking wet, 135 pounds. I was just ready to make plays, but it was really a shock to me to realize that like there's so much more than just your talent that will get you there. So just really having to understand throughout high school, putting the work in, entering to Penn State. Once again, the same thing. I was light. That was the first adversity I had facing, just because that was the first time I realized that there's guys out there that can do what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a culture shock to me again, and it really made me hone in on my skills, hone in on my abilities, and really just want to be that guy.
We have heard from our top draft pick. Now we will check out the game tape. Ron Rivera joins us in the film room to share what made Dotson the right fit for Washington. And welcome back to Command Center. After taking a look at Jahan Dotson's numbers from Penn State, it's pretty obvious to see why the Commanders made him their first overall pick. In 42 career games, Dotson recorded 183 receptions for almost 3,000 yards and 25 career TDs. Now, for more on what made him so special at Penn State, here's Logan Paulson in the film room with head coach Ron Rivera.
Coach, always glad to have you here. We're going to talk about your guy, Dotson. You took him in the first round, receiver. There's a lot of stuff to like on the tape. One of the things you said in your interview was that he reminds you of Steve Smith and Deshaun Jackson. Those are lofty comparisons in my opinion, but I kind of get it a little bit here, right? Because again, Steve Smith competes for 50-50 balls. This guy competes for 50-50 balls in a dramatic way. Like, he's not a big man, but he competes for the football in the air.
You know, one of the things that you do when you watch him is he seems to time it out when he can get the best advantage in terms of the high ball.
Right.
If you watch him, he gets himself above the man.
Right.
That way, if the guy does jump, the guy's going to jump into Steve and even elevate him more. Well, that's what you're seeing right here with Jahan. You see Jahan go to jump.
Yeah.
The DB goes to jump, and what's he do? He bumps into
him up.
Exactly.
And the other thing that you love about him is the focus. The ball gets a little loose, but he's got such an acuity to the football. It's fantastic.
Well, the big thing is you also see great body control.
Yes, yes. And I think you see that again here, too, all the time, right?
Yep.
Steve Smith, same type of thing, right? He's got this little jerk route here up top. And then for him to catch, like, the thing I love about him is when that ball is in his hands, he's got those big white gloves. You don't see the ball doesn't move around a lot. Nice, clean catch, and then the body control to get his toes down.
Well, the biggest thing, you said it earlier, too, is watch the eyes. Watch how he catches the ball. In this particular instance, you see him catch the ball. His hand and eye coordination seems to be together because as he catches the ball and he's turning with the ball into the end zone and tuck.
I love that. That's fantastic. That's great insight. And then, again, another thing I remember about Steve Smith, you know, like one of my favorite players because he's a fearless dude, is when you return punts, you got to have some great courage in your belly, right? And on this punt, you see him running, and he doesn't even break stride. And there's guys coming for the angle, and he's just got, again, like you don't see that very often from a guy who's built like that.
No, you don't. But what you like about him, too, though, is that he has deceptive speed.
Yes.
He's such a smooth runner.
Yes.
There are a couple shots in this, especially from the tight end zone, that you see it looks like his guy's got an ankle, looks like it's closing up, and he just runs right by him.
Clears that angle, excellent. And again, to return those punts, man, you got to have great courage, and he just seems like a competitor. If you're playing special teams in college, you're a competitive dude. So, and then we got this next clip here. Again, they're kind of running this weird corner. He's running a post here, quarters coverage, weird college coverage here. But again, the thing I like about this, I get a Deshaun vibe here. I don't know if it's the towel, I don't know if it's the visor, whatever it is, but he seems to just be able to accelerate to the football in the air in a nice way.
Well, you know, this also you got to give credit to his release. If you watch his release, he kind of pushes himself out a little bit, which kind of gets the corner, which will now watch as the corner starts to widen. See how the corner's in position, so he knows. Now he's got the angle. Once he makes the cut, he has that speed to separate. A la
Deshaun Jackson, right?
Deshaun Jackson,
who was one of the fastest guys ever in the NFL.
Yes.
So again, and then one of my favorite things about him, I kind of felt like he was the most NFL-ready receiver. That's something you said. And to me, NFL-ready, you got to run great routes. So let's talk about this route he's about to run on Cross, who was a draftable safety from Maryland.
Well, what you like about it is he sells that he's coming across the formation. And he also understands that if he can get this safety right now, look at the positioning he started with. He started with his hips open to the sideline saying, I'm not going to let you outside. So he knows that by taking the extra step, he'll cross. And as soon as he sees him crossing, that's when he sticks and goes vertical. And he set him up very, very nicely. Why? Because he doesn't get anxious. He stayed very patient, sold it to the inside, and he knows as soon as those hips flipped opposite of where he really wanted to go, he knew he could cross them and get him have to either speed turn or try to pivot back. He tried to speed turn too late.
Too late. And I think that's one thing, if you're a young route runner out there, patience as a route runner. And we're going to see that here on the next one, which is great. Again, big play, touchdown. This guy ran a 4.3. He's walking right by that guy. Again, he's here on a post. You guys run a concept similar to this. And I love how patient he is. This guy's got outside leverage, and I'll let you talk about it, but he kind of stems to the outside shoulder of this DB and gets him all turned around here.
Well, what you want to do is once you sell it, okay, what he did on this is he started up inside, like he was trying to get the inside release to the post originally. As soon as he saw this guy start to stack him, he knew he had to cross him up. See, go back.
Yep.
If you go back and you see when they're even, okay, when he is stacked in an even position, if you go back just a touch, right there. Now he knows this guy's going to cut him off, so he's got him stacked.
Yep.
So if he goes to run the post, where's this guy going to be? He's going to be in his hip pocket. But if he can sell it, like he's going to the 7, this guy's got to turn and react, and he does. And guess what happens? He gets inside where he was going all along.
That's fantastic. And Coach, like, it just seems like he's a competitive guy, awesome hands, understands route running, knew it. Seems like he got a heck of a football player.
Oh, I really do believe we do. And what I really like about also not just being a really good football player, but he's a solid young man.
And that's almost just as important, right? Because you know that they're going to keep growing and be good pros.
Yes, a good pro is exactly what we're hoping to get.
Excited we've got him.
This Thursday is the 2022 schedule release. Now, while we might have to wait until the dates are announced, we do know our home and away opponents. As always, we face division rivals Dallas, New York, Philadelphia, both home and away. And then coming to FedEx Field this year includes the Vikings, the Packers, the Titans, the Jaguars, the Browns, and the Falcons, while we will travel to Chicago, Detroit, Houston, Indianapolis, and San Fran. Okay, Logan, you look at that. What gets you most excited?
I think the Dallas game, obviously Dallas and Philadelphia, obviously those are divisional opponents, but also just to see where this team's at, where the roster's at. We've done so much work. This team's done so much work this offseason about getting this roster ready to compete with those teams. Has that work paid off? Are they ready to go?
And everybody also wants to see, okay, where are you playing certain teams at the end of the season?
Yes, right.
I mean, last year we closed out the season with 5 divisional games. Like, that didn't seem fair. We'll see on Thursday. But thanks for joining us for the very first Command Center. For Logan, I'm Julie.